You're listening to Dirty Feet, a dance podcast. I'm Allison Burns. We're going to start off with talking to Nicola Henry, who is a big part of the Dark Horse Dance Project's team and also of the Ottawa contemporary dance scene in general. You may recognize her last name. She's actually related to the Tristan Henry, who has been on the podcast himself and also does the music for the podcast for the past 3.5 years. But Nicola, we're going to focus on her today. She is assistant to the artistic director here at the School of Dance. She also teaches at the school. She is a graduate from the program. She has danced for Sylvie de Rossier in the city, and she is a choreographer in her own right. She's presented work at the Fringe Festival and elsewhere. And please, Nicola, jump in and fill in the gaps for me. You're kind of like one of the go-to contemporary dance people in the city, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, thank you. That's a very nice compliment. But yeah, I think you kind of covered most of sort of the different hats that I wear in this, in our contemporary world here in Ottawa.
Can we right away narrow it down and start talking about Dark Horse Dance Projects?
Yes.
And maybe let's start with how you got involved with the initiative.
Yeah, for sure. So in the first year of Dark Horse, Jocelyn and Kay approached Kathy Kyle to see if she would be a part of it. And she and I had just finished working on a solo that she created for me called Drink the Water. And we performed that at Ottawa Dance Directive a few months earlier. So it was sort of a good opportunity to give it a second life. And so I presented it. And it was a big team effort that year. Joss and MP obviously did a ton of work to get everything organized, and Fraser, our technical director. But I sort of feel like everybody that was on board, performers and partners and parents and anyone we could grab, was there to help out with that first edition, because there was a lot of work to do for that to make it happen. And so then after that, I had expressed my love for the project and told them how wonderful I thought it was and such a great new addition to our Ottawa scene. And they asked me if I would come on board in the second year to help with all the planning and organization. And I, of course, said yes. So that's what I've been helping as much as I can over the past 2 years.
So last year we had the opportunity to talk to Marie-Pierre and Jocelyn and Fraser and even Amelia Griffin, who was also part of the production team in the previous year and a bit for the beginning of this process. But we didn't get a chance to talk to you. So finally we've got you in the hot seat to kind of represent the people behind the work, and really that make this whole machine run. So can we talk about what's changed from last year to this year's edition of Dark Horse?
Well, last year, I guess a couple of sort of very simple things. Last year we held the performance at Ottawa Dance Directive, which is a theater in its own right. So all of the equipment, the sound and lighting equipment was on site and installed and ready to go for us when we arrived. Whereas here this year at the School of Dance, this is a dance school, so none of those things exist regularly in the building. So we had to bring everything in, do a huge setup of all of the 3 studios that we're using as performance spaces. That was a very big change this year. Also, we this year offered 2 of the choreographers a slot for the shows to do a longer choreography. So usually we've been doing pieces that are roughly 10 minutes, but we wanted to give the opportunity to choreographers to expand a little bit further and really, take their vision further. And so that I think was a nice addition to have the different lengths of pieces this year. And then I think sort of besides that, I mean, it's always different every year because we have different people coming in and different people creating new work. So there's always going to be something that feels like a different sort of atmosphere in the different shows. I said different many times just then. It's so different.
Is it different?
It's different.
Okay.
But, lots of nice same things too. Mary Catherine Jack and Megan Jerome were back on board for a third year to be our sort of guides throughout the evening, and of course, incredible performers, witty and just entertaining. We love them. They're a great asset to this project.
I just want to comment on the fact that we're at the School of Dance for the presentation this year. And yes, there's a lot that the team has had to do to kind of make that work, to be respectful of the Marley floors, and to just coordinate an inaccessible building and getting our audience up and downstairs and things like that. But on the other side, these rooms are so beautiful. There's enormous windows and gorgeous architecture, and almost an opportunity for people to create site-specific work. The Dark Horse also offers residency, and the space for the residency this year was the same as the performance space, which was really exciting, I think, for a lot of artists.
Yeah, I think it's really nice. I mean, I know some people weren't able to be in the exact studio all the time to rehearse, but it's a beautiful building. And for years, I think back when I was a student here at the School of Dance, I thought it would be a really cool idea to do a show and have people move around because it's such an interesting building with all these, we've got some exposed walls and just has so much character. So it's a really cool space.
Lovely. And now let's talk about the composition, like all the artists that were selected this year to be a part of the showcase. So again, the goals are always like it's Ottawa centric. So can you tell us a little bit about the makeup of the artists?
Yeah, so the idea is to be doing a presentation platform for contemporary dance, but we're also open to some other forms of dance. With people that are from the Ottawa region or have some kind of connection to Ottawa. So we do end up with artists that are based in other cities, this year Montreal, Toronto specifically. But we have an application process in the spring, and the core team, we read out all of the applications and do our best to select a nice diverse program. And having the 2 different shows is really interesting as well. 2 different nights of 4 different choreographies. Again, different. Sorry, it's my new favorite word apparently. And I think this year the 2 different programs are really interesting because the first lineup was a very strong cast of women and women choreographers, which is wonderful. Whereas our second night was a very equal cast of men and women and features 3 duets of a man and a woman, each of them. But again, those 3 are just completely diverse between the 3 of them. So it's a really nice collection of works, I think.
Well, having covered the festival last year, and for our listeners who listened to that coverage, you would have heard me gush tremendously about the Dark Horse Dance Projects and the team and everything that it stands for. And this year I can gush even more because I had the opportunity to be chosen as one of the artists presenting work for the Dark Horse Dance Projects for 2017. And to see everything that you and your team have done to support artists in terms of the residency space, in terms of offering a mentor and the presentational space. You have everything taken care of. We really get to be artists and focus on the work. And we get to do what we want. The proposal that I submitted was, I want to do a duet. I want to choreograph on these 2 people, and I want it to be about this thing, and I got to create my own work on my own terms. So I'm tremendously grateful for that opportunity.
Well, we're very happy to have you. And so now I'm going to turn the tables on Allison and take over the question portion and let her answer as one of the choreographers for Dark Horse 2017.
Sounds awesome.
So, Allison, tell us a little bit about your idea for your piece, because it was very unique. It was something I had never seen before. And you had really interesting use of props, I guess, many multiples of something. And a really cohesive idea and some storytelling in there. So lots of juice and good stuff to work with, but sort of give us just a little taste of if someone hadn't come to the show, what they missed.
Sure, because it's over now. So what I proposed was to explore time travel through dance. This is hot off the tail of my Fringe show where I explored immortality in a dance show. And I really like this universe of sci-fi, and I like this line, this really fine line between reality and magic. And so I like convincing myself that magical things can happen. So that was my goal for the work. And it was also at a time when I was taking some breakdance classes and some dance hall classes at the Flava Factory. And I am by no means proficient in either form. Very much an imposter in that environment. But I was very inspired, especially by the shapes that you make in breakdance. And I'm always a huge fan of floor work in contemporary dance in general. So it kind of gave me more fuel for creating contemporary floor work. And that was also part of my proposals, that I just wanted to continue to kind of dig that for inspiration. And I made it clear that I'm not kind of trying to create a fusion dance, because that's just not within my capacity, but that I just wanted to use that as a seed along with the time travel seed. And then I had the wonderful opportunity to work with Amanda Bond and Chelsea Passmore, who are both incredible dancers and strong women in their own right. And it was just really nice to have them in the studio and to have them bring so much generosity in the creative process and just like openness, and they'd follow me down these crazy pathways and just explore. And that was really wonderful. So on this train of thought, I wanted to address your question about the text first, because I kind of brought these ideas to the table, and then I assigned them. I wanted them to tell me my idea back to me in their own words as they understood it. And we kind of did that a couple times, until I got it where I wanted it. And then we took those recordings and brought them to Travis, who did the writing for Do You Want to Live Forever? And I had him write a script based on those improvs and what we liked and didn't like about it. And then took that script back into the studio and back into the hands of Amanda and Chelsea, and kind of continued to play with it and tweak it as we saw fit, as the dance sections moved around and things made more or less sense. And the keys, which were my prop, whereas, I don't know, that was like an instinct thing where I brought this pile of keys to the first rehearsal, and we played with them, and they were working. So I kept finding more and bringing more until we had like 1,000.
Yeah. Very big pile. And I can't remember who, but somebody after one of the shows said to me, the key to them, it was the unlocking of the memories. So that was, I thought, kind of a nice little comment, and saw the obvious connection there. That's sort of nice. Yeah, and that's an important word that you just said there, memory. That's where we went with this whole idea of like, oh no, time travel is absolutely real. It's memory recall. It's projecting into the future where you want to be and finding yourself there. Like it's these moments, these things that are real. And you're really time traveling. You're really time traveling.
You're a real time traveler now, which is the line from the show. Yeah.
Oh no, it was a lovely piece, and
Thank you.
Feel like it's not over. I feel like it will be presented again, hopefully, in something else. Maybe you'll be in Fringe again next year.
I'm going to make a solid effort to present this work again, because I'm very proud of it, and I've gotten a good response, and I would really love for it to have a second life. And I do feel like it's something that, the piece ended up being about 22, 23 minutes long, and I think it could be longer. I think there's more, especially conceptually, that we dropped throughout the process, that we could pick back up again and dig a little deeper into. Yeah.
Cool. So Allison, tell us a little bit about your choreographic process. So working with the dancers, you talked a little bit already about the collaboration on the text, and then again also working with Travis to compile the script. But you also had the opportunity to work with an outside eye, a mentor, Yvonne Coots, if I'm not mistaken, from Ottawa Dance Directive, the artistic director. And give us a little bit of insight on how sort of that side of things felt for you.
Yeah, that was a real treat. That was a fun surprise to hear that I'd been assigned Yvonne as a mentor. And also, like I mentioned before, like having the residency space was amazing to be able to come in we booked 40 hours of time just in the studio, and about maybe 2/3 of the way in, we had Yvonne come in. And that was interesting as a deadline to kind of sort of try and do something to show her, because it was really research heavy, kind of what we were doing, and trying to keep developing the physical material. So, we could spend 3 hours on 2 minutes of the project, and then we could spend the rehearsal just improvising with the material and trying to find new ways to fit things together. So it was there's like almost never a right time, but every time is the right time for somebody to come in and take a look, if that makes any sense whatsoever.
Yeah.
So we just strung a bunch of ideas together to show her, and she watched the run and she's like, "Hey, what do you think?" And I was like, "That order doesn't work at all." And then it was a really beautiful process, because she really just like helped me work, and we worked together for a few hours in the studio with Amanda and Chelsea, like just the four of us just working things out and trying to make it better. And of course she gave like broader strokes feedback about what we were doing and what we were trying to do, what it looked like and what we wanted it to look like and feel like and things like that. So that was really helpful, and to have her kind of leave us with a bunch of that information and then come back a couple of days later and see what we'd done with it, and reinforce that, yeah, we had made the changes that were getting us closer to where we wanted to be. So that was really lovely. And she was just very respectful of the work, which is, every good mentor knows how to prioritize the work and not their own vision. She was really graceful in that, and being able to, make sure that anything that she was suggesting was getting us closer to where I wanted to be, rather than just something that might be better in some other objective
exactly
way.
It's all subjective, right?
Yeah. So yeah, that was wonderful. I also actually had Keir Knight consult. I called him the choreographic consultant.
Yes.
He wasn't able to make it into any of the rehearsals, but I would take him footage from rehearsals, and we would sit down together, and he was also really amazing at putting aside whatever his wants were and really following me on my journey and helping me get to where I wanted to be. And he was really great for offering next step suggestions, and what might be a good exercise to try at this point in the process, and what my dancers might need. And, he's been dancing professionally for a long time. And so to have that perspective was just incredible and really helpful. Yeah.
Awesome. And I'll just maybe mention so Yvonne Coutts was one of the mentors this year, and we also had Sylvie Desrosiers, who I know has been on your podcast. She's the director of the contemporary dance program at the School of Dance. And our third mentor for some of the choreographers was Emmanuel Juth from Montreal. And it was really nice. I've heard lots of great feedback from all of the artists about the opportunity to work with these very incredible established Canadian choreographers and dance figures. So that's definitely something that we are happy about and intend to continue with for Dark Horse.
Sweet. Yeah. Don't ever stop. You guys are doing an amazing job.
Well, thank you. We do it because we love to see all of this amazing art come together and bring dance to our community. So that's our goal.
Wicked. All right. We're going to start talking to some of the artists who are presenting work at Dark Horse Dance Projects, and also get a chance to speak with Emmanuel Juth about being a mentor.
Awesome.
All right. I am speaking with Riley Sims, who is one of the choreographers presenting work at the Dark Horse Dance Projects for 2017. And Riley is presenting his work under the company name Social Growl Dance. And this will be the first time that he's presenting work under that title here in Ottawa. However, he's been very active in Toronto with Social Growl. And he's actually got a history of dance with Ottawa. So you've got a tie to Ottawa, which is really a theme for Dark Horse. Mm-hmm. So let's start with that, Riley. What is your connection to the Ottawa dance scene?
I started dancing for Ottawa Dance Directive in 2014. Yeah, and I danced with them for a couple of seasons with Yvonne Coots. And that was my first my first way into the scene. And then since then, I've just kept in contact with people. And then I heard about Dark Horse, so I applied, and here I am.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And if we can back it up a step further, where did you train?
I trained at the School of Toronto Dance Theatre.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Great. And so now you're back in Toronto and you're working a lot with Social Growl. Tell us a bit about what makes Social Growl different than Riley Sims doing choreography.
I think that it's the company represents the work rather than the choreographer. The route I chose to be was that the company was bigger than me, and that it's more about the people that I collaborate with rather than I am the choreographer here. I mean, like, for sure, people use their names in their title of their company all the time, but I just like the idea of it's like a separate entity than me represents the work. Yeah. And I can hide behind that.
Hide.
Yeah.
Do you have specific collaborators that you work with more frequently than others that you'd like to shout out?
Yeah. I work with the same, usually like 4 to 6 dancers since 2012. They're from Ottawa, Montreal, Kingston, Toronto.
Love it.
Yeah, they're from all over the place. And I'm a really big advocate for that, that when we work in a specific scene, we should try and reach out to the other dance scenes because we can learn so much from each other. So that's a big part of, people that are involved in the company are not just from Toronto, they're from everywhere.
Wonderful. Mm-hmm. And so what does it mean for you to be back here in Ottawa presenting this work and taking up this opportunity to do that?
I'm a big fan of the work that's made here and the people that are part of the scene, the people that choose to stay here rather than go elsewhere, because I know it can be difficult sometimes. So some people, when things are difficult in a place, they're like, all right, I got to get out of here and make it somewhere else. But the people that stay and that push, Ottawa, I think it's really important because there's a lot of valuable artists. And I love Dark Horse. I love the girls who started it. And I think it's a good thing to keep things fresh and new and young. So I think it's good.
Great. Let's talk about the work. Do you have a title for the piece that you're going to be presenting this week?
Mm-hmm. It's called Ode Parade.
Ode Parade. Mm-hmm. And what's the aesthetic of the work?
The aesthetic.
This is where the challenge of talking about dance in an audio format comes out. Yeah,
like aesthetically, movement-wise, it's pretty visceral, gestural, theatrical. It's very human.
And what's your main either jumping off point or theme or plot?
It's sort of the word ode. I like the word ode. It's sort of a tribute to or like a dedication to something. And for this, it's sort of to past relationships, versions of ourselves that exist in past relationships that we sort of have to leave behind when we, end things with someone. That was one thing I was thinking about with them. And it's an ode to, old relationships, to new ones, to versions of self, from all things that exist inside us, from sort of like dark sides to light sides. There's always that sort of duality in people. So with the two artists that I'm working with, Jean-Benoit Labrec and Geneviève Robitaille, we are calling on sort of all the things that exist in them, from dark to light, whatever that means, sort of like personality traits or, so their relationship is sort of ambiguous in the work. They sort of move through different types of relationship.
I love how we're like speeding through this interview. Like we're not staying in one place too long. So I want to zoom right into process, that we're touching on this.
Yeah.
And so Dark Horse offers residency space in this city and also a mentorship pairing. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us a bit about what the process for this putting this together looked like in terms of Dark Horse support and otherwise. Yeah.
Well, like everybody, it was very quick. But it was through, these residencies they offer, which a residency is like nothing other. I'm a big fan of them because you get to sort of, consistently work and stay with something for days in a row, and you get to live sort of in the place that you're working. So, we spent 8 days here in July, and we made about 25 minutes worth of material. The mentor was Sylvie DeRosier, and she's great, and I've worked with her before. Lately, most of my work starts, at least from the physicality point, is through a solo that they each have, each dancer. And then I figure out how to incorporate that with the other person into a duet. But there's always usually a solo material. And then the other part of it is these sort of scenes that we move through. So they're more like, I have a theatrical vibe. So then it's about, okay, so I see this scene in my head, which almost most of the time doesn't have any movement related to it. And then trying to string these sort of the physicality with these scenes and how to get to each part. That's usually the task.
And this piece that you've put together is going to be performed in a studio here at the School of Dance rather than a traditional stage or black box space. Is there anything that you did from the get-go or during the process or even just at the end in putting it together that kind of accounted for that?
Well, I guess I had the advantage, but a lot of these people actually have seen this before. But I remember this studio. Like, I remember dancing in it. I remember taking class in it. It's the one in the basement. And I've always liked it because it's, like, dark and sort of strange and has, like, tile up half the wall. And so it has already kind of a more theatrical, architectural setting. So I was like, okay, we need to use this. And there's these 2 sets of double doors. And right away I was like, that's going to be the main focal point. And I knew with only 8 days of working, you had to be sort of like pretty quick about distilling ideas. So I sort of was like, all right, here's the scene, these 2 double doors. That's the focus. That's it. Don't go anywhere else. Yeah.
Would you go so far as to say that it's a little site specific?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, trying to put it somewhere else on another stage would be difficult if they didn't have this set of doors, because now they're quite crucial to the work.
Sure.
Yeah.
I've had the pleasure of speaking with Riley Sims, who's presenting work as part of the Dark Horse Dance Projects. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you very much.
Et maintenant, je parle avec Julie Timchuk, qui présente un travaux pour le vitrine Dark Horse Dance Projects encore une fois cette année. On a parlé avec Julie l'année passée. Alors, Julie, merci d'être venue encore une fois sur Dirty Feet, puis aussi à Ottawa pour ce projet. Est-ce qu'on peut parler un peu de qu'est-ce qui a passé avec toi et ton parcours dans l'année passée?
Oui, fait que l'année passée, j'ai présenté In the Days avec Marie-France Jacques. C'était une collaboration. Le projet continue. Il continue à être présenté. On applique encore. Et puis, cette année, j'ai beaucoup travaillé avec la danse urbaine. Et j'ai rencontré le b-boy Vibes, qui est Romain Gaillaguet. Et puis, on a décidé de mettre nos 2 forces dans un projet collectif, qui veut dire d'utiliser une plateforme contemporaine puis de montrer le langage urbain dans sa pleine expression.
Est-ce que tu peux m'expliquer un peu comment ça fonctionne? Parce que la danse contemporaine puis la danse urbaine sont tellement différentes comme processus et comme forme en danse.
En fait, on ne voulait pas trop modifier le mouvement. On voulait rester assez pur. Fait que, disons, c'est plus moi qui ai appris de la gestuelle, puis il me fait beaucoup répéter pour avoir la même attaque, le même sens du rythme. Puis l'aspect contemporain, c'est plus au niveau de la dramaturgie. Je voulais pas commencer à moduler le mouvement. Je voulais le garder intact dans sa forme et d'utiliser plus les mécanismes d'une dramaturgie contemporaine pour créer une pièce de 10-12 minutes. Ouais.
Alors, comme tu avais dit déjà, l'année passée, c'était une collaboration que tu as présentée, puis aussi, cette année, c'est une présentation en collaboration. Est-ce que c'est le mode que tu préfères créer?
Oui, il y a un échange qui se crée, il y a un défi de la réflexion dans juste la façon d'argumenter. Des fois, on peut trouver des stratégies ou des clés pour avancer le travail. Et j'aime bien dire collaboration parce que ça fluctue. Des fois, c'est Romain qui prenait en charge les répétitions. Des fois, c'est de mon côté. Je pense de part et d'autre, on a trouvé une façon très fluide de communiquer puis de créer Funky Step.
Puis aussi, dans les deux cas, tu collaborais
Oui.
sur le travail, mais aussi vous deux dansez dans le projet.
Oui.
Alors, est-ce que c'est plus facile de cette façon d'avoir un collaborateur qui peut te regarder comme danseur dans le projet?
Bien, c'est sûr pour ce projet, mais chaque projet était différent. Avec Marie-France, c'était une autre esthétique, c'était d'autres thèmes, c'était une autre gestuelle. On apprenait beaucoup de l'une et l'autre. Mais je pense après nos longues conversations, il est venu In the Days puis sa forme. Puis je dirais Funky Step aussi, là. C'est sûr, Romain m'a beaucoup aidé à apprendre la nouvelle gestuelle, des nouvelles coordinations que j'avais pas. Et ça l'aidait beaucoup. C'était un point fort pour arriver de faire Funky Step, un peu l'essence des années funk. Ça, c'est vraiment avec ce que Romain m'a appris qu'on a découvert, comment créer une pièce du groove, du funk avec la gestuelle.
Is it helpful that you have a collaborator when you're working on being an interpreter?
Oui, ben il y a comme un support qui se crée. C'est sûr, comme même quand on le performe ou quand on est en studio, c'est constamment quelqu'un qui partage l'univers. Fait qu'on peut comme constamment le nourrir ensemble. Puis c'est sûr que Romain puis moi, on est un couple aussi dans la vraie vie. Fait que ça vient teinter aussi nos conversations. C'est continuellement, on nourrit l'univers de Funky Step. Marie-France, c'est une grande amie avec qui j'ai étudié aussi. Fait que c'est des collaborations riches qui vont au-delà du studio. Puis aussi, j'apprends aussi comme danseuse dans ce rapport-là qui devient très intime au final parce qu'on partage beaucoup. Fait que ça l'aide, oui, à avoir un appui très fort dans quelqu'un qui partage le même univers que toi.
J'aime cette expression, le même univers.
Oui.
Oui. Alors, j'imagine que c'était une bonne expérience d'FPC l'année passée.
Oui.
Parce que tu retournes cette année. Expliquez-nous pourquoi c'est encore important ou relevant d'être ici pour le Dark Horse Dance Project.
Mais c'est sûr, j'ai trouvé beaucoup de plaisir l'année passée. C'est sûr, ça a fait partie de la motivation de revenir. Il y avait aussi, je trouvais que pour entamer une nouvelle recherche, parce que je suis pas dans ma zone de confort, tu sais, faire 10-12 minutes de danse urbaine, comme le stamina est différent. Fait que je trouvais que c'était l'endroit idéal pour que je puisse expérimenter cette forme-là. Juste parce que l'année passée, je l'ai vécu, il n'y avait pas eu de pression, de jugement. J'avais aimé l'équipe, j'avais envie de revenir, puis de le faire découvrir à Romain. Lui, il vient de France, il vient de Toulouse, fait qu'il est vraiment nouveau à tout ce qui est le monde de la danse contemporaine. Fait que je voulais montrer une facette de ce qui se fait à Ottawa, juste, ouais.
Parfait. Puis aussi, cette année, la présentation va être dans le School of Dance au lieu qu'un scène. Comment est-ce que tu approches cette différence? Mais
je pense que ça nous a aidés parce que quand on a fait la création, je l'avais déjà en tête, cette espèce de lieu, de studio, comme qui se passe beaucoup de choses, autant quand on fait de la création, quand on fait notre danse. C'est des lieux chargés, comme... Fait que j'avais déjà pris ça j'avais déjà pris conscience de cet élément-là, qu'on n'allait pas être dans un théâtre avec tout ce que ça l'amène, les lumières ou la boîte noire. Mais j'aime bien l'idée que le spectateur est proche, que c'est plus intime. Je pense que ça l'aide Funky Step à... Ouais, ça l'aide de la performance, parce qu'on essaie de créer une petite bulle intime, puis de créer un groove collectif. Fait que je pense que cette proximité-là va aider à... Ouais.
Parfait.
Oui.
As-tu des derniers mots avant qu'on dise au revoir?
Non, je suis satisfaite.
Merci. Je parle avec Julie Timchak, qui présente en collaboration avec Romain Gaillaguet.
Oui.
Funky Groove.
Funky Steps.
Funky Steps.
Mais avec beaucoup de groove.
Au Dark Horse Dance Projects. Merci, Julie.
De rien, merci.
Next up, I'm going to be speaking with Jeffrey Dollar and Amber Green. And Amber, we had on last year when I covered the Dark Horse Dance Projects because she was choreographing at that point in time. And this year, Amber is working in collaboration with Jeffrey, and they've done this piece together, and they're both choreographing it and they're both performing in it. So welcome back, Amber.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And welcome for the first time, Jeff.
Thank you very much.
So we got to talk to Amber last year a little bit about what Dark Horse means to her and all the rest. So maybe, Jeff, we can talk to you about that question. You know, this is going to be the third year of the showcase. And what does it mean to you to be a part of it?
So for me, this is my third year being involved directly or indirectly with Dark Horse. I was in the first iteration with Amelia Griffin, and the second iteration I should have been performing with Amber, but sadly I was unable to do so, so I'm very happy to be back this year. And for me, it's just a great community platform to present new work and to give emerging artists the opportunity to present what they've been working on.
Rad. So let's talk about how the two of you decided to work on this piece together. And is this like because of the missed opportunity last year, or what was the inspiration?
I would say yes to the missed opportunity last year, but also there was a point where we felt like dance had kind of taken a side note in our life, and we wanted to really get back into the studio, and we missed being in this space, the School of Dance, a lot. So we didn't really have anything that we were working on, and we figured there's probably going to be a couple of opportunities for us to present something, so why not start working on something? So we developed some material, and then Dark Horse application came along, and we're like, well, why not try for this again, right? Even if we don't get the opportunity, because I loved working with Jeff, and so he was like my immediate first person who I wanted to ask. And the fact that we didn't get the opportunity last time to actually follow through with the whole process, it's really kind of refreshing to work with him again. Yeah.
So the fact that this process started before Dark Horse was even a conversation, what was the seed, the instigator for your choreographic research?
Well, as a third-year student at the school, I created a solo for myself, and my ultimate objective was to continue with the same piece that I was working on with the same material or just a similar idea, which was working with the notion of frequencies. And I think Amber was very keen on that idea, and so we just decided to elaborate on it and to just give it a new spin, a fresh interpretation.
Cool. And where has it gone since then?
Well, I actually got to watch Jeff's solo. So in that whole experience, as I would put it, like I really found at the end of it that I was like, no, I want more, because it was only like, 10 minutes long, I think it was, not even. So it was just like, oh, I really want more. So it was that one experience that really like inspired me. So when we started working together, I had originally been like, okay, so we're going to play with his solo material. But then we ended up like developing completely different material. More so of the stuff that we found hard to do. So we wanted to improve on it. And then we read another book, go figure. Last year was also a book kind of inspired in a way. But this one I read The Hidden Messages in Water, which was really interesting. It's kind of like a far out there book. It talks about like the ways crystals form when you speak a certain way to them, say like to a jar of water, right? So, and how the crystals actually form. So when you say something negative to them, they are just formed little crystals. But if you say something like nurturing, like talking to plants, like I love you, please grow, things like that, they actually have very symmetrical, beautiful, like fully formed, gorgeous crystals to them. So it made me think about, well, how do we react to things like that, right? And other people's frequencies, or because that's what I related it to, was like when you walk into a room and like you can cut the air with like a hot knife, like butter, you know, and you can feel that tension. And some people are really in tune to it, and some people just don't even notice it. So it's like, and I'm a very, I guess, empathetic person, and the way people talk to me, it really, I guess, hurts me if they have even like a slight negative tone. So I feel like that disformed kind of crystal-like feeling, you know? So I really related with those crystals. But then when somebody loves you, you're just like, oh, you're so, I don't know, you feel whole, and you don't feel like pieces of you are wrong and rotten, you know? It's interesting, yeah. So, and then how we relate to each other in that whole frequency feeding back and forth, and how you try and make people understand, but they don't, and like, right? And you don't see it, even though there's like a calm.
So we were working a lot with some of the unseen senses. So as Amber was describing, if you walk into a room and you feel a certain way, well, why is that? Or if you move to a new city, you either fall in love with it or you absolutely hate it, and you can't come up with a very good reason as to why. But we think it has something to do with the various frequencies that we emit, but that the world around us emits as well.
Awesome. Let's talk about process and how, you know, being accepted into this showcase, and how, you know, having the residency, having access to a mentor, how did that change how you were working?
Well, as we started working in January, we were mostly fumbling around a studio, just generating material.
Fumbling.
And and I think being accepted in the process just gave us a very clear objective, and it made the creation far more intensive. And we tried to come up with something that made more sense, that was presentable, something that had a little more mass to it. And then, of course, having an outside eye like Yvonne was very helpful as well. Just so much helpful insight was provided. And it's been a very pleasurable process. We work together very well, and it's been a great time so far.
Yeah. I completely understand what you mean by changing gears from an exploration that's for the two of you to that's something that's going to be shown on stage. I'd like to continue to explore this little zone here, because I think sometimes it's difficult to grasp. And I'm wondering if there's anything left behind, like if there's a different track that you could have taken that would have had, like, did you lose something?
I think in the exploration, we had come up with a lot of material. And we were given a limitation, of course. Our pieces could have been a half hour long, but the time frame that we were given was 12 minutes. So I think we've lost a bit of material, but I think it helped us kind of sift through all the things that we had and focus on the things that were either really relevant or very important to us. So, you know, it's bittersweet in that sense. We've lost quite a bit of material, but I think we're left with something that is held together, and that makes sense.
I just want to harp on this just for one moment, because you used the word important. So, and I think there's a difference between work that's like important for you to practice and work that's important for you to show. So is there still like part of your practice that remains that's not going to be on stage?
Yes. It's hard to explain. So yes, I'm previously a figure skater, right? So all those like crazy tricks that you want to do that are so impressive to see, we had so much of that, and I feel like it was so superficial because of that, because taking those small moments that I forgot about completely when we were actually exploring, those moments that you enjoy so much, like a small gesture, or like even like the look of a head, or how intentional that movement is, even though it's so minute. It may not be an impressive thing, but it could be something that you see every day on the street. And those moments are the moments, those images, I would say, are the ones that I cherish the most. So I think that I do want to continue on working those high legs and those impressive things, but also really working the transition that makes those things so impressive at those moments where they're actually needed or wanted from the audience, right? You know, how they have that like, oh, I want to see a little bit of unison here or something, right? After so much improv or whatnot, and where you're so different. And yeah, so the less, even though we're able to do those things, it may not be the most relevant thing or needed thing on stage. That's why I guess we named it important in a way. Like, it's still important for us in our technical training, I feel, but maybe not so much on stage, right?
I'm tremendously intrigued, and I can't wait to see the work. Amber and Jeff, do you have anything else you'd like to add about dance, about Dark Horse, about your work? Can you give us the title of it?
Our piece is entitled Sonar.
Sonar.
Again, relating with wavelengths, frequencies, that sort of thing. We actually struggled quite a bit with finding a title for this piece because there are so many words and images associated with that topic. So I think it's a working title for the time being, and although I think it's an appropriate one, but it might progress and it might evolve in the future.
Great. So you'll continue to work together on this?
Definitely.
Yeah. Wonderful. Lots of nods. Okay, super. So I've been speaking with Jeffrey Dollar and Amber Green, who are collaborating on a choreography called Sonar that's presented by the Dark Horse Dance Projects. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next up, I'm going to be speaking with Emmanuel Jute, who is a choreographer based in Montreal, who has been a mentor for several of the artists presented in the showcase this year for 2017. There's a few artists who are actually rehearsed in Montreal and come from Montreal, so it was a nice pairing to have you in the city there, I imagine, to be able to work with those artists before they brought their work over to Ottawa to present with Dark Horse. Emmanuel, thank you for joining me.
It's a pleasure.
Let's briefly talk about your background as an artist. You founded Danse Carpe Diem in 1995 as a collective, and 5 years later you became the sole artistic director of it, if I'm
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I was studying at l'UQAM, l'Université du Québec à Montréal, and I had the chance to meet some colleagues, some students with whom I had beautiful chemistry, and we started these activities, which was to dance in front of a public once a month in correlation with another discipline. So let's say a very easy example, dance and theater, dance and poetry, dance and sculpture. And then we did the Carpe Diem, you know. Now it has been institutionalisé in the Passerelle 840, which is well known at l'UQAM. So all the students since I think 97 are presenting some project and for their studies, and it is presented in front of a public. But in the beginning, it was an initiation of me and Marie-Julie Asselin, Isabelle Chevrier, ainsi que Ève Lalonde, Julie Beaulieu, and Caroline Coton. That was a long time ago.
Oh,
and
that's
then,
right, yeah.
Yes, it's true. And then then we finished, we stopped to be a student, we started to be a professional, but what is the professional when you begin? And then, because of our, we were not a collective, we were a bunch of guys who were sharing the same structure, but we were not signing a piece all together. It was 4 distinguished signature. So of course, with time, because of our relation with grants and Canada Art Council, Conseil des Arts et Lettres du Québec, and Canada Conseil des Arts de Montréal, we were invited to precise our artistic vision. So with time, I became the only artistic director, and then I can say that my career started as a artistic director of a company, solo company, Danse Carpe Diem, Emmanuel Jaud.
That's right. And then what would you say is your defining signature? Maybe it's clearer now than it was back in the late 90s, but what, as an artistic director, as a choreographer, do you try and do with your work?
What I'm trying to do with my work, with an overview, or?
Yeah, like real broad strokes.
Well, I think first, as an artist, I tried first to identify myself through a discipline. So it's a relation between a stranger and yourself. Myself as as a stranger, and dance as another kind of stranger. And I was trying to find a core, a center through this. Then after, when I have identify a place where I could express myself, I had to find what I wanted to say. In a distinguished way, in an intelligible way. Of course, I knew what I wanted to say, but with your guts, with your soul, but not necessarily through the gaze of someone who has a certain kind of distance and who lives also in a society. So I had to learn this. At a certain time, I realized that what I wanted to share with the public, it's this necessity of communication, communicate, I mean, who I am through you guys. This is my English, so it might be hard to understand, but if I can try to another way, it's to confirm that I am in a society because of this need to be with people. So I needed to communicate the necessity to be with the other. Then, because of this realization, I changed radically way the way I was presenting my work. So we are now many years, after. So we're now in 2009, 2010. I wanted to break the fourth wall. Of course, it was also because of an encounter I had with a German artist, choreographer, Felix Rücker, through a show, Outna, who helped me to see the relation with the spectator in a very, very different way. So since these experiences, I wanted to question my work, my intent, with another way to sense the space. So then I was proposing some work where the dance was very close to the spectator. Then after I understood, yes, there was many ways to propose this encounter, but in which kind of dialogue I wanted to be settled or grounded, okay. Which kind of dialogue I wanted to give. So this is where I am now. Actually, I have this big question of the body. Of course, the body is maintained through the professional work, but also I think with a normal citizen. We are all the same. We have all body, legs, heart, feelings, brain. Happiness, trauma, all this it's a universe, and I'm wondering how can I stimulate the body in this kind of fluctuation, vibration, not necessarily exclusive for a professional dancer. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is my English part.
No, I think I know what you mean. Like when you kind of go into the realm of pretentious or up above, and then you lose that connection with the general public. Is that?
Yeah, because okay, we can say general public, but even then, I don't want to distinguish professional and public, or performer and public. I want to enhance the beauty of the body, and this beauty we can meet it in many situations. Mm-hmm. Through a situation which is feed by a professional dancer, or feed by someone who's not a professional dancer but is a professional in life,
Who has a body and
who has a body, who has a
their
magic.
entire
Yeah,
life.
yeah. You see, so light is not just from a flashlight or a lighter. It comes also from stars and from, there's many ways to see light. So this is where I am actually in my artistic life.
I love that light metaphor. That's wonderful. So let's bring it back to Dark Horse Dance Project.
Yeah, sorry for that.
No, it's nice to have some context on who you are as an artist coming into the process. And then how did you get involved with Dark Horse as a mentor for the 2017 edition?
Well, I had the chance to meet an artist, Élise Bergeron, last year, who asked me to come in her studio and to be an outside eyes for her work, Blau, duet she worked with Rosie Contant. And I was pleased to have this chance to share my sensitivity through her work. And then the year after, Marie-Pierre and
Jocelyn?
Yeah, they knew, they understood, they knew that I was a mentor, an official mentor last year for Élise. So they asked me this year if I wanted to be
an official mentor.
An official mentor for artists. And she wrote me when I was in Bali trying to, let's say, resurrect. And I said, why not? Why not trying to go back to something which is very essential, which is dialogue, discuss, try to touch what is the most essential. And I think for these artists who some of them start their choreographic career, there's something new, there's something not fragile but strong. So I was interested to see how I could connect with them and try to feed them with my little experience and their big. In French, we can say. Some people have experience, je veux dire en français en fait, des personnes peuvent avoir de l'expérience et d'autres de l'espérance. And to mix those two, it can give something very constructive. So I was happy to be there as someone who has experience in front of someone who has hope, and I think we can learn from each other,
That's fantastic. And all the artists that you mentored this year have very different styles and very different goals with their work.
Yeah.
And of course, we've understood now a little bit about your goals and your work. How do you manage that when you're in the room with somebody, with another artist, and you're trying to support their work?
I think my approach was very selfish, but I hope it was the best one. I mean, I was very centered on my values, which is to grow, even if I'm 47 years old, to grow as a human. So in front of me, I was not talking to a choreographer, or I was talking to a human who had an intent. So for me, it was easier to talk to a sensitivity than to talk to... I wanted to be close from my human values than to my choreographic specific experience and vision, because I'm still a creator, I'm still a dancer, I'm still a choreographer. So I wanted to be far from my own aesthetic, far from my own position, vision about dance. So the best way it was to be there as a human being, as a man who traveled dance for, let's say, almost 20 years, almost a spectator, and to be sensitive towards, in front, or j'ai voulu être sensible par rapport à quelqu'un qui avait une très grande sensibilité face à sa propre danse. And so it helped me to give some comments, to discuss with the artist in the way for him to understand himself and not necessarily the work, because the work with time, you realize that you do so many work, and it's almost secondary. What is the most important is, as an artist, how it is possible for you to repeat yourself. Because creating, it's this, this is my position, this is my vision. As a creator, I understand that creating, it's always an act of repeating yourself. So for this, you have to be open all the doors to be as most as possible sensitive to yourself, and then through this sensitivity, find a generosity to reach the public. So it helped me. So you understand now when I say I was very selfish and thinking about my values. So for this to be some sunglasses, some glasses for. It was a help for me to make myself understand, for them to understand their work. C'était pour moi plus simple de parler à une personne qui comprenait son univers dans une dimension humaine que dans une dimension technique et précise, parce que j'avais affaire à des styles très différents. Et moi, au niveau des styles, j'ai une opinion trop subjective. Donc, je devais m'adresser d'abord et avant tout à un humain qui est sensible à son travail, qui est vulnérable à son travail, et non à son travail. Ce qui aidait peut-être à la personne à prendre une distance. Parce que quand on crée, on n'a pas de distance avec ce qu'on fait. Donc, moi, je voulais surtout aider la personne à prendre une distance par rapport à son travail. Puis des fois, la meilleure façon, c'est de ramener la personne face à elle-même.
That sounds like it could be a tremendously transformative process to have you come in and kind of reflect that back to somebody. Did you throw some wrenches in some processes while being
By
a
wrenches,
mentor?
you mean?
I mean, did you turn anything upside down with this approach?
Well, if I can talk, let's say, because this is what I saw, I'm going to see more tonight. I saw Caroline yesterday.
Barrière.
Yes, I saw Caroline Barrière yesterday, and I was completely touched, not astonished. Tu sais, en français, we can say agréable surprise, but I would say agréable, and at the same time, I was not surprised because I met somebody who was very grounded, very sensitive. And I had this discussion about her work, and I was saying, your proposal is first. It's about, it's not about you, it is you. So please, don't put a screen between, don't protect yourself. Go right into it and take the risk to still be you, Okay, I do this in a resume. So maybe this was like you're saying, c'est peut-être ça, peut-être pas, mais bouleversé.
Yeah, change the direction of her process.
But
yeah.
choreographically, of course, I never permit myself to say you make this change or but just to make them understand that their proposal, it's one thing. But if a proposal is before you, it's not a real proposal. It has to be you backed by a proposal. Otherwise, what does it go? How it's going to be distinguished from another work, So I think we always have to remember this. The best way to be universal in our work, it's to be an open door for the public, but for this we have to be in front of the proposal, not behind of some personage or I don't know, So this was for Caroline, for Noémie Dufour. There was a trio. My approach was still, I hope, human. It was different. I was much more questioning her as a sensitivity, but in the space. Her as a sensitivity in relation with other sensitivity. So what was the impact for her in her steps, in her dance, in her movement? But she it was a very different work. So she knew at the same time she didn't know, or she was, and it's also a big job, when you're inside your work. this distance you need. Sometimes it's kind of. So Noemi knew what she wanted, but at the same time, she had the guts of what she wanted, but she couldn't see what she wanted, so she had to trust. She had two other good partners, so yeah, the work was different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. All the. Can you just name the other artists that you worked with as well?
You mean those who I'm gonna see tonight?
Yeah.
Yeah. There was Julie Timchuk, who was working with Romain, but I forgot her family name, and they are proposing a street dance, I would say, based on a funky universe
That's
proposal.
right. Yeah, we had a quick chat with Julie already, so we've got some background
and,
there.
I don't know Julie at all, except that since I would say 7-8 years, I see her growing as a dancer artist, and she has a specific. She's growing through her choreographic signature process, and it really surprised me when I first got in the studio, because the proposal is far away from what she's used to work, so I admire this risk she took to go somewhere
Different. Yeah.
different. I would do that. No. It's like you asking me to do some balinaise dance, or danse du ventre. I mean, it's a big challenge, but still stay artistic. So the other one was Olivia. I forgot her name.
Olivia Sophia.
Yeah, Olivia Sophia. That's why it was hard. Olivia Sophia. But actually, it's a collective of 4 artists. One in music, one in dance, one in dramaturgy, and another one more in scenography, I would say. And also, this was another approach, slightly different from the others, because I had to talk to 4 persons, and so I became, for a very short moment, a 5th person. And for the performers, when you have 4 person working in a collective, because none of the person of the collective are dancing the proposal.
Yeah, and then they have 4 performers on top
so
of that.
So it makes a team of 8 persons. So it's it can be a lot of blah blah blah, and I'm not saying this in a negative way.
But it's a lot of negotiation when you've got that.
A lot of fine tuning about what it is. What do we want? I found that they did this in a very clever, very respectful way. So what I had to say, I had to be very careful, because I didn't want to be a 9th or a 5th or a 9th voice. I just wanted to. So I invite them to. I did unusual work for this. I invited to be conscious of this kind of climate, this kind of proposal, and also the way we work when we are in collective. And sometimes we. I think I underline the fact that when we are in collective, it is not a creation of 4 person, if there are 4. It's a creation of the 5th one, which is an unknown person, When we have a real encounter, it's not Olivia or this guy or this guy or this guy. It's really the meeting of 4 person, which create a 5th one. Do you understand what I mean?
Yes.
So, and this 5th one will always take the part of the strongest idea. The idea which is the strongest on stage, it will be the one. I'll say it again. Sometimes you have 2-3 proposals, which one we will, sometimes we argue, sometimes we think. The strongest one on stage, it will be the right proposal. And in the accumulation of this will be the aura of the 5th creator. So I say 5th because it's 4 person, but you are 2, it will be the third one, So I don't know why I'm saying this, but it was very interesting for me, all these creation, because I was also thinking about my own process. And what is great when a certain kind of experience meet another kind of experience, it's to see that it's beautiful how the doors can always keep open, you know. So I'm sure that me, as a not old yet, but I will go back in studio and I will have this remembrance, you know, these for artists.
The impact goes both ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's amazing. Thank you so much for joining me and talking to me about your experience.
It's a pleasure, and thank you for your patience.
It's absolutely a pleasure. I've been speaking with Emmanuel Jut, who mentored 4 of the artists presenting work at the Dark Horse Dance Projects for 2017. Thank you very much. You've been listening to Dirty Feet. I'm Allison Burns with a few thank yous. First to Paula Flalo and the No More Radio Network. Also to Mainline Theatre and Montreal Improv Theatre. And to all present and past team members who can be found on our website, dirtyfeetpodcast.com. You can also find us on Facebook at Dirty Feet Podcast and follow us on Twitter at Dirty Dirty Feet. Thank you for listening. Until next time.